everybody, welcome to day 2 of our Allegro Sew Along. So we'll get started in a few minutes with pockets today. We had so many friends with us yesterday. It was amazing. Thank you everybody for joining in yesterday. That was a lot of fun. I've said it before, I know I love doing these sew-alongs. They're so much fun for me. I like helping you guys learn how to make adjustments and show you different fabric options and answer questions and all of that. I love the whole process of a sew-along. I like that everybody is joining me with the project. It's just such a fun concept, and I'm really happy that we can do it. So today is pockets. I love pockets. Pockets make everything better. These are Luna shorts. So, oh, hi Terry. These are Luna shorts. They have no pockets, and I'm constantly like, I need a place to put my hands, my chapstick, my phone, whatever. I'm always using pockets. So my Allegros are definitely going to have pockets. If you don't want pockets, you do not have to have pockets. So if you have not cut your fabric out yet, if you're not going to do pocket, cut straight across that side seam. If you are going to do the pocket, don't cut this off. Like, just fold it over, and then you're going to cut on that angle for the front pocket. So I try not to cut my pattern pieces up, because then you have to keep track of this little piece if you ever want to make a pair without pockets. I don't know why you would, but then you don't have to keep track of that little piece. So whenever possible, I try to just fold my pattern pieces back to accommodate the different options. So we're going to start with the back pockets. So the back pockets are patch pockets, and I've already kind of gotten a head start just to make our time frame, you know, not 5 hours long. It doesn't take 5 hours, but when I'm talking, it does take longer. So our back pocket piece is just a rectangle, and you'll notice on the pattern piece that there are a couple triangles on each side about an inch down from the top. You're going to want to transfer those pattern markings. What that mark is it tells you where you're folding that top of the pocket down. So for our first step, if you want, finish the raw edge of the top of your pocket. And I did the bottom also. I did not do the sides. We'll do that in a minute. You don't have to finish the raw edges. The top stitching will keep it from fraying, but board short fabric, I don't know what the difference is between, because they all feel like nice qualities, but some fray more than others. So I do like to finish the edge of my board short fabric. So you're going to, hi Heather, you always tape the cutouts back on. That's a good option too. So my tape always sticks when I go to remove it though. So I'm terrible about ripping them. So all right, back pocket. So those triangle markings, you're going to take your patch pocket and fold it over to the right side, which I know sounds crazy. Just follow along, it's really cool. Fold it over to the right side, and then we're going to do a straight stitch going down from that fold. On both sides. You're going to do this 3/8 of an inch from the edge, just like that. So you're going to go from the fold down and sew that in place. So we're 3/8 from this cut edge and go straight down about an inch. All right, I'm going to check comments. Okay, Linda, hi, thank you so much. I know that many of my mistakes. Oh my goodness, fabric can make or break a project, Linda. Like, you are not alone. it has such a big influence on what we do. I lost my chopstick, you guys. And I think that we tend to take it for granted, like how much it can affect us. Oh my goodness, I took pictures of my chopstick. Now I can't find my chopstick. Okay, we're gonna use this. I like to use the chopstick for turning these. So what kind of a machine do I have? I have a Necky. It's a QS60. So it's in the same family as Janome. Alright, so, oh, wrong way. Alright, so we have this folded down to the right side. Our side is stitched together. And now we're going to flip that fold over to the wrong side. And so just flip it over so that now wrong sides are together on the back. And then I'm going to use a pencil. It's not sharp because I don't want to poke a hole in it. But I just take the corner of it to push that corner. Take the pencil, or my chopstick usually, and push that corner out. Be gentle because you don't want to poke a hole through. I have done that with a sharp pencil and it makes me angry. So that's why I prefer the chopstick. So now you're going to take it and press that fold. I have stuff everywhere, you guys. Alright. I am using a pressing cloth because board shorts fabric is a polyester, and I like to use a really hot iron, and polyester does not like hot irons. And so to keep myself from melting my fabric, I use a pressing cloth. It's also a good idea because then if you have any yuck on the bottom of your iron, it keeps your fabric clean. Oh, forgot something. Alright. I'm poking it the other way. I'm going to serge down the side seams. I forgot to do that. So I flipped that pocket back over to the right side. 1 second, my serger's off camera. You'll probably hear it. Sorry. Alright, we're back. Okay, so there we go. I serged down that seam, or that raw edge, to keep it from fraying, and now I'm going to clip these serger tails. And then now I'm going to flip it over. So constructing that top of the pocket like that gives us a really clean edge right here on top. I really like how Tammy has those pockets designed. It just makes it nice and clean, and it looks sharp, man. Alright, those are poked through. Now fold down the side seams, and you're going to fold them in 3/8 of an inch, so right along that seam that we sewed, really. Press it in place. Pressing is super duper important when you sew. I don't know if you have noticed, I press a lot when I sew. It makes a really big difference. It keeps your fabrics behaving. They mind their manners better. They'll stay in place better if you press rather than if you just fold it over, pin, and crush fingers. So, no, I'm not using a wool surface. I do think those are cool. I am pressing on, it's a Cricut mat. Those little Cricut heat press things, I can't remember what their official name is now, I'm sorry. It's one of those mats. I really like it. It comes in handy. I hardly ever use my full-size ironing board. I know I'm not using my pressing cloth. I'm a rule breaker sometimes. Alright. So, I flipped it over. I'm pressing it again. I have one of these laminate tabletops for my desk, and I do iron straight on it sometimes. I don't know if it's good for it or not, but I do it. I figured you apply the edging with an iron, so what's it gonna hurt? Alright, so there's my pocket. Yes, Tammy is right. Pressing is a big difference between homemade and handmade. It makes it look nice. And then, don't get me wrong, I'm not ironing everything that comes out of my dryer. I don't have time for that. This is a chambray. I can never remember which is which. I think this one's the Cadence. I get my Cadence and Harmonies mixed up. I think this is a Cadence. I never press it. Never. I pull it out of the dryer and hang it up immediately. So I'm not pressing everything. I just press when I sew. Alright, so now I'm going to top stitch the top of the pocket in place. I like to lengthen my stitch when I top stitch. It keeps the fabric from puckering and it looks nice, in my opinion. If you like a short one, go for a short one, but I find that I get better results with a longer top stitch. I went to almost a 4. I'm kind of a wild card like that. And see, right there. And then it blends in with the serger thread. But that is our patch pocket. Oh, when you sew that top stitch, you want to back stitch at the beginning and end of that stitch. Alright, so pocket placement. I transferred, I don't know how well you can see it. Oh, see that yellow line? I transferred the pocket placement mark. And so in the blog post, I said that I just pinned my pockets in place, and I'm going to leave them pinned in place for those pants. Pocket placement is really a personal thing. It's almost as personal as a crotch curve, you know. Where your pockets go and what looks good on you is going to be based on so many things. The shape of your seat, the width, if you have a higher seat or a low seat, you know, there are so many variables in a person's individual shape that determines where pocket placement works for them. Some people, lower pockets work better, other people, higher pockets. Some like them out, some like them in. So because of all of that, it is 100% okay to just pin your pockets in place. Sew the entire shorts, joggers, skirt, whatever, and then try it on and determine if those pockets are in a good place for you. There is nothing wrong with that. It's a little bit trickier to sew the pockets on. I'm not gonna tell you fibs or anything, but if it's the first time that you're sewing this and you don't know where your pockets should be for your own preference and your own personal shape, just pin them on. I am gonna sew this one on. Something else, you can do one pocket on the back, or you can do 2 pockets on the back. You can do no pocket on the back. It is up to you. If you want a bunch of fancy top stitching on your pocket before you sew it on, go for it. If I'm using a really lightweight fabric that's kind of shifty and goes all over the place, sometimes I'll take hem tape and I will secure my pocket in place with hem tape. I'll just iron it together, iron it right to the shorts with that. There's a really narrow one, like a 1/4 inch hem tape. I'm out. But that is a really good option for if you have fabric that's going all over the place. So there's my pocket. I tend to always start on, when I'm looking at it, it's the right side. And so I'll go down first. I'm going to do this in steps because if you looked really closely in the tutorial, you're not going to see that with this color. If you look closely in the instructions, there's this little zigzag at, or not a zigzag, a triangle at the top of the pocket. when you attach it. That keeps your pocket from ripping off. It secures it in real nice. And I don't normally do contrasting thread, so we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna do this in steps. So I'm gonna start at the top. I am gonna shorten my stitch a little bit. I'm gonna bring it down to like a 3.2 for this. So I'm gonna back stitch here, secure it. And then I'm going to do a locking stitch just so everything is nice and tight. Alright, I typically don't take it off the machine to do this. I'll do it in one swipe. I'm just taking it off so I can show you what I'm sewing. So I sewed straight down. And then from there, I drop the needle. I'm going to lock that in place again. So it's straight on, needles dropped. I'll lift the presser foot. I'm going to remove that pin, and then I will pivot the whole short. I'm going to go ahead and turn it. Usually I just sew backwards, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it just so it's a little bit easier for you to follow along. Another locking stitch. Again, I don't typically take it off the machine. So my next step, I'll sew that angle. So first step is a back stitch at the top, go down. I go to about the top of the hem of the pocket, and then I pivot and go up to the pocket top. So right there. And then from there, I will drop the needle again. So we just came to the top of the pocket, drop the needle again, pivot, and sew across the top. Ah, I went a stitch too far. Whenever I go a stitch too far, I just turn my hand crank backwards instead of going in reverse, and then the stitch doesn't lock in. So then I sew across the top. So we've made a triangle. Started at the top, did a back stitch, went down, pivot up to the inside, pivot back to where we started. And then I go down that side again. So now I go all the way down to the bottom of the pocket. And then pivot. And go across the bottom. Don't sew over pins. I'm stopping and taking my pins out. It can be a dangerous habit. You can go over one and break a needle, break a pin, and I have broken a needle before and it shot up and hit me in the glasses. So I take that very serious. So now I go all the way to the top of the pocket, and then I'm going to pivot and sew inside. So 1, 2, 3. I just counted my stitches. So I went 4 stitches across the top last time, so I'm going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lift, pivot, and so now I'm going to go into that down to the bottom hem. Lift, and now I'm going to go over the top, very top again. So that's what it looks like. So when I got to this other side, I went up and then I went across the top and then I pivoted and went down and then I pivot and go back up the top again. So, okay, I'm gonna check comments real quick. All right, Marianne, you had trouble finding us. So you can, I think if you turn on all notifications from the group or notifications from admins, then you'll get a pop-up if you're on your computer when I go live. Otherwise, if you just go into the Facebook group, just our general group, the live video will be streaming right in there. So I can't link to a post until the video is already created, unfortunately. So I'm sorry. I'll try to figure out a way to get some clear directions, but it's always going to be live directly in the group, in our main group. So that is our patch pocket. No, this video's still going. Day 2 is going. And you're in day 2 right now. All right, so now our front pocket. All right. Find all my pieces. This and this. All right. So, like I said, if you're sewing the front pocket, you're going to cut along that diagonal. And you're going to have your pocket piece. You're going to place your pocket piece right sides together with the front and line up that diagonal. And then sew, you see where I sewed it? Sew that diagonal together. That's the only part you're sewing for that first piece, for the pocket bag. You want to sew and then serge. It's going to make a stronger seam. So, I know it's an extra step, but it does make it stronger. After you have the pocket bag attached, flip it up and then press. Ooh, a pin. Ah, I melted it to my pressing cloth. So you're going to flip it up like that. And then next we're going to understitch. So understitching might be a new term. It's kind of like the equivalent of top stitching on the lining only. So we have this seam allowance pressed towards the pocket bag. Can you see that right there? So seam allowance is up, pocket bag is up. We are going to sew the seam allowance to the pocket bag only. Again, I like a little bit longer stitch for stuff like this. So just like that. And then my seam, I don't know if you can see it, it's right there where my fingernail is. And so the seam allowance is pressed towards the pocket bag. My bobbin thread, I didn't think to change it. It kind of blends in right there. So now, take that pocket bag and fold it over to the wrong side. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to press it. So much pressing, but I promise it makes a big difference. And I did not blend the sizes well on, I just melted it to my pressing cloth. Whoops. I didn't damage my fabric. Oh, you know what? I have a little bit of interfacing glue on here. I think that's what it was. So like I was saying, I didn't think about what size pocket I was cutting, so I blended sizes, and so I should have used the 14 pocket because it goes down to the thigh area, but we're gonna make this work. All right, that's not the piece I want. I want pocket. Okay, so pocket bag is attached. Now this is the pocket lining. This one right here. And now, okay. I'm sorry you guys are having trouble. I really am. As far as I can tell on my end, the video's still going strong. So, I will post the recording of it, so it will be here forever and ever and ever. I'm sorry it's giving you fits. Okay, so I'm pinning, clipping the pocket lining right side together. So you should see all wrong sides when you're looking at it. Okay, good. I'm glad it's working. And now we're going to sew that in place. Oh. I forgot to shorten my stitch length. I'm just going to clip this really quickly so that you can see what I did here. Alright, so I pulled the pocket away and then I stitched around the curve of the pocket bag and pocket lining only. You're not sewing it to the shorts front. So you're going to pull it away like that, and then just sew around this curve only. And then, you're right, we're pressing again. Okay, so just gonna make sure that everything is lying. Tessa, where are you? Tessa knows. Flat. And then I'm just going to press because my seam is a little wobbly, like wonky-ish, and so pressing will make, like I said, it makes it behave. And then our next step is to finish that raw edge right there. How are we doing on time? We're doing really good on time tonight, guys. So I'm going to, like I said, my serger is like right over there. I'm going to serge right around that edge really quick. Alright, ta-da! I'm back. Alright, let's see. Let's show this side so you can see the stitching. So again, sew and then serge. Unless you have a 5-thread serger, you want to, with wovens, you want to sew, construct with your sewing machine, and then finish your seam with your serger. Especially with a really loose weave and a loosely woven. What will happen if you just serge is you're removing the seam allowance, and that seam allowance gives your seam strength because it's where all of that tension's coming into play, and having that seam allowance there keeps those threads from falling apart and then your seam just evaporating. Have you ever had that happen? Especially if you've ever seen little girls frou-frou dress up, or sometimes the little fancy nightgowns that little girls have that have the chiffon and the really lightweight skirts and overlays. There will be no seam allowance left on those, and they just, that chiffon just pulls completely away from the seam because there's nothing there giving it strength. So That's why you don't want to trim your seam allowance when you're serging. Just go right across the edge. So now I'm going to baste the pocket into place. So a basting stitch, if you're not familiar with that term, basting stitch means that you're holding something temporarily in place. It is not meant for permanent construction. Sometimes basting stitches remain, and sometimes we remove them. It just depends on what we're making and what we're basting together. So this basting stitch can stay in place, so you don't have to worry about removing it. But typically, a basting stitch is a really long stitch, oftentimes the longest that you can go on your machine. You do not want to back stitch at the beginning or the end because it's just there temporarily. And so you would sew it to hold it in place and then remove that stitching. We don't need to remove this one, so that it's not as important to not back stitch there. So going from the back, you can see I just basted that pocket, top of the pocket, right to there. And there's the side seam is basted in place. So why we baste those in place, it keeps, because we have 3 layers of fabric together right now, then we'll be adding another layer of fabric when we sew the side seam, and 2 more layers of fabric when we do the waistband. So it just keeps things in place and keeps them from shifting around in the construction process. So if you just want to pin it, you can pin it. But most of the time, if a pattern recommends that you baste something together, it's usually best to just take the extra time and do it. And then yes, I am pressing again. So this is what we have. We have a pocket. Ta-da! If you like, you can top stitch around the edge of your pocket right there. You can't see that, right? Where the pocket goes. So if you like, you can top stitch that. I have an example of that in tomorrow's blog post, if you want to see that. So I have the pink tencel twill. Look, I remembered how to pronounce it. And I have a cargo pocket tomorrow. And so yeah, one of the pictures that shows that pocket top stitched in place. So yeah, we've sewn pockets. Do you guys have any questions at all for me? I'll give it a minute because I know that sometimes there's a little bit of a lag going on. Drink my water. Okay. Tomorrow we will be constructing the faux fly and the side seams and the inseam. I had to remember what all was for tomorrow. Chris, you've been doing the pocket back all wrong. Okay, well, maybe. I am very guilty of just doing it. So I always say that there's more than one way to do anything. Anything at all. From tying your shoes, making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, to sewing a pocket. I show you how I do it, and I really try to follow Davey's instructions in the tutorial. But a lot of it is just memory from doing it so many times. So you may not, unless your pocket's not turning out, you may not necessarily be doing it wrong. You may just be doing it differently, and that's okay. All right, how many threads do you use on your serger? 4. I always have 4 threads on my serger. I am not adventurous. I can barely do a rolled hem on my serger. It's 4 threads. I never mess with anything with it. And it works. Pat, I'm sure you are all very familiar with Pat. She's a wonderful moderator of our group. She has a wealth of information on sergers and adjusting the differential feed and all that. I don't even do that, you guys. I just go. But I just use 4 threads on my serger. Once upon a time, I did do 3 threads on it. I know that there are some that swear up and down by a 3-thread stitch for especially knit fabrics and stuff, and that is fabulous. Again, whatever works for everybody. I don't mess with my serger. It's up and good. So did you stay stitch the pocket the same as the seam width? I stay stitched just inside the seam allowance, so it's probably closer to about 1/4 of an inch versus 3/8 of an inch, just because I don't want to risk it showing. So I do tend to do my basting and all of that just inside the seam allowance. So they don't always turn out. Well, I'm glad I could help, Chris. If you're sewing your pocket and it's not going well and you're confused and you're just, post in the group. Pictures, all that are very helpful. We can figure out what's going on. If I'm not available, I've just had, as of late this morning, a shift in my schedule for the next few days, so I am not going to be on until probably afternoons in the group for the next few days. But there are so many people that are so helpful. So if you have any questions, just post in the group, email me. I will email as soon as I can, but it probably won't be until afternoon. Any other questions? 4th thread here too. Just going through the comments and making sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. Alright. Anything else that I'm missing? So we have pocket construction today. Share your pockets. Pockets are fun. You can do an accent color. So if you want this little triangle section to be a fun little pop of accent, Rachel, one of our wonderful ambassadors, her athletic pair, I think she did an accent there, and so all you would do is your pocket lining, make that a different color fabric. So that is how she did that. They were gray. I think they were a dark gray for her main and then a lighter gray for her waistband, and I think she did the pocket an accent color. Sorry, Rachel. So yeah, and you can do a different fabric for the bag. If you're short on fabric, you can do your whole pocket in different fabric. So, or if you're, like, say you're making Sabrina Slims in a little bit more heavier weight fabric, you can do your pocket bag in something lighter so that you don't have that bulk there. It's a good option. So pockets for today. I've lost my back piece somewhere. There it is. I like that pink thread. I like how that turned out. So, okay, everybody. I think that's all we have for today. So, like I said, tomorrow we will be assembling the body of our Allegro. And, yeah. Oh, also tomorrow I will go over the hem vent, that split in the hem of the ankle length skirt. We'll do that live tomorrow too. So I'm just going to go with 7 o'clock all week unless something really changes on my end. That is my plan. So I will be back here in the group. Just go to the main group page, the pattern support page, and I will go live at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So thank you, everybody. I am so glad that you could join me. If you have any questions, post in the group or email me at help@lovenotions.com. Bye!